Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to yet another episode on Life Signatures Radio, episode number 1321. We talking in this series about makeshift strategies. And now we're going to start looking at the advantages that do accrue to us when we employ a makeshift strategy. I have said again, let me just say it for you here before we can get deep into the episode, that it is important for us to be in motion. If you wanted to progress in this life, look for motion. And I know many people start arguing and qualifying this and so on. It's okay. I'd rather someone who has activity going than someone who is paralyzed with analysis. Be in motion. Motion is currency in your life. If you wanted to grow, you need motion. And sometimes it's not easy to be in motion because there's some things that you don't have. That's where the makeshift strategy comes in. And so in the episode, guess what we're discussing? The title of this episode is The 5 Advantages of a Makeshift Strategy That Will Elevate You Above Waiters. Let us start looking at each and every one of those advantages, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
I am sure, I can guess that probably in your life, even as you're listening to these episodes, probably in your life you've done some makeshifting here and there in your life, and probably it's just because you've never paid real attention to them. But once in a while you've makeshifted yourself. Sometimes probably you are in a queue somewhere and you felt like you needed to sit down, and you went and you sat down and you told someone to book for you this space or to stand in for you and so on and so forth. You're trying to use some alternatives to what is available at the moment in time. There are very many examples you can be able to use in your own life where you have makeshifted yourself. But we're talking about doing a makeshift strategy, especially when it comes to deploying our ideas and deploying our purpose. And the crux of the whole thing, we've said the crux of the whole thing is that you've got to be in motion, because motion is currency. You'd rather be in motion than not. The person who is in motion goes ahead of you, who is waiting to be perfect. And I know we can qualify that, and we can say that sometimes it's good to withdraw. And I've preached that before. I've given you an episode, actually a series here, saying that it's important before you can get started to review and to plan. Yeah. Planning is important when you know that action is imminent. But when action has got to be taken with an idea that is just there, idea that is just new, then the makeshift strategy comes in. In fact, the makeshift strategy comes first before you can even start planning. Therefore, you've got to be in action. You've got to be in motion, trying to make sure that things are running. Don't wait until everything falls into place and until you have the $50 million so that you can be able to do your idea. Just find a way that you can be able to makeshift this thing. The guys in the startup world call it normally prototype. Find out how you can be able to prototype it as you go along. How does a makeshift strategy looks like? In the past 3 episodes, we say that number 1, it is functional. It just deploys the basic thing that you're supposed to deploy. It doesn't have the bells and the whistles. It's not having the best aesthetics, no finesse in its appearance and so on. It is functional. If I strip down a car and I remove the body of the car will still be functional because it's going to still move from point A to point B. It's just going to look like the carriers that we used to have with horses, the horse carriages. It doesn't have a body, it doesn't have an engine, but it's moving. If I remove the engine of the car, then what happens? That's when its functionality goes. So we're talking about looking at the engine of something and just deploy. The engine is not such a beautiful thing to look at. Have you ever looked at the car engine? It's not as cute as the steering wheel. It's not as cute as the dashboard, as the car's chassis. They call it chassis or chassis or whatever it is they call it. But it's not as cute as the car seats and the radio of the car. It's not as cute as the air conditioning system. Right? It's not as cute as the lighting in the car. The engine is functional. That's it. So number one, it's functional. Number two, it's excellent in that you're using your heart, you're putting your heart out. The fact that it is functional doesn't mean that you're doing it in the bare minimum way. It doesn't mean that you're doing it with your heart half-hearted. No, you're giving your all to it. So excellence is in there. And the third pillar of a makeshift strategy is that it's improvised. That's it. It's improvised. You don't have the exact tires. So what do? You improvise. And later on, you're going to replace the improvisation with the real deal. So, what are the advantages of a makeshift strategy if you are deploying one? I'm going to give you one today, and then the other days we're going to look at others. A makeshift strategy, once deployed, is going to help you to grow in installments. Growth is always progressive. You know that. When you were born, when I was born, I didn't start running around. I started by trying to sit down, finding out how I can be able to sit down. And I saw my son trying very hard. He's one of the guys that he really tried to sit. I mean, his first initial month really tried to sit, and he was able to sit down. And then immediately after that, it's the struggle to start crawling. And then after that, the struggle to start standing. And then after that, struggle to start making a step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and then walking, and then running, and then the rest is history, riding bikes, and so on and so forth. Growth is in installments. What is the common denominator in that trajectory of growth? Motion. When he is trying to sit, his back probably is not that strong, but he's trying to sit. That is motion. He's not perfect, but he's going to get there. And you've never seen anyone rebuking a child that they have failed to sit, or they have failed to stand, or they have failed to walk. In fact, when they walk and they fall down, people celebrate. Why? Because they know sooner or later, this guy is going to be running. This guy is going to be riding a bike. This sooner or later is going to be sent to the shops. So what's the point? The point is growth in installments. This is what a makeshift strategy gives you. It enables you to grow. The guy who is sitting back and analyzing, in fact, let me tell you this. The best growth experience you're going to get is not theory. I know our education system is so theoretical. And every time someone goes against theory, or every time someone stands up and says something negative like I'm saying about theory, people rise up to their feet and they want to beat you up. Because people have theory degrees. I mean, they have spent 16 years gathering theory. But let me tell you something. The biggest growth you're going to get in life, it is in practical. It is the growth you're going to get is when you're smack in the middle of failure. Today, I think I have seen something very powerful. I can't remember where I saw it. I saw it on social media, and I can't remember who exactly posted it. I remember, but one of the things, it's a graph, basically, a graph of growth. There was theory, I think, there. Then there was doing, and then there was failure. The bar for failure was higher than the bar for doing. The bar for doing was higher than the bar for theory, just knowing. If you're going to implement a makeshift strategy, you're going to start being in motion and you're going to start failing, and that is where your growth is. The greatest friend in your pursuit of life is growth. Growth. You don't get growth by sitting back and waiting until the pavements are done, until the tarmac is there, until everything is in place. Growth starts from basic forms and levels to complex forms and levels. Basic forms is just get started with whatever is available. Complex is gonna come later. Some women know today that you used to burn your hair in terms of making, you used to have hot hair combs. That was basic. But at that moment in time, it was very technologically advanced. Did you know that there's some women who didn't have hot hair combs? And it used to rock. Today, you can't use hot hair combs. People consider you as archaic if you do that. Why? Because growth starts from basic levels to complex levels. That's why you need to cherish starting out with or without having everything in place, and starting with your makeshift strategy is much better than sticking back and waiting for perfection to come. The greatest friend, I can say again, the greatest friend in your pursuit in life is growth. And the makeshift strategy gives you this friend on a silver platter. The person who is in motion is always going to be guaranteed of growth and development than the person who is in theory. I know thinking has its place. I know knowledge has its place. But action, motion, on the knowledge that you already have is much more powerful than the knowledge itself. The lessons learned through growing are weaved back into the process of growth. And into the process of growth, you grow again. You learn the lessons, you weave them back. And the person who is waiting for growth before they get started will lose out on the beautiful advantage of incremental improvement and incremental growth that the person who is makeshifting has. So if you wanted to proceed in life, I don't know what it is that you're passionate about in your purpose. I don't know what it is. Start with the basics. Start with the makeshift. The complex will actually take care of itself as long as you are in motion. Tomorrow we're going to look at another advantage of employing a makeshift strategy. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.